Hi everyone, my name's Bill and I'm an alcoholic, and today's share is called The Truth. I started drinking like most alcoholics when I was very young, very, very young. I also started to bend the truth a little when I was even younger. Underneath everything, I was basically an honest child. I knew right from wrong, I knew good from bad, I knew the difference between yes and no. But a dishonesty emerged within me that was born out of fear, out of confrontation, out of the fear of confrontation, out of the aloneness that I knew as a child, and it was born out of a lack of love and understanding from those around me. It came from my sensitivity from what you thought of me, and my sensitivity from what you didn't think about me, where I started to make up my own version of the truth, where I could be so frightened of life at times, I didn't know what to say, so I just lied. I was especially frightened of being told off, of loud noises, of shouting, of rejection, of hurt, of humiliation. Even at that early age, I recognised that my very future, my very life, my very soul depended upon me and no one else. Self-preservation and my own survival rested squarely upon my shoulders and nobody else's. I became a one-man band, where that self-preservation started by the time I was maybe 8 or 9 years old. I grew up very quickly. I almost missed my childhood. I went from a little boy to a grown-up in no time at all. Being dishonest was not really how I saw myself. It's not who I was. We weren't brought up in a dishonest family. We were brought up to tell the truth. We were brought up not to lie. We were brought up to respect our elders and not to steal. But ultimately, I now recognise that I used dishonesty as a survival instinct, as a need, as a want, where it became imperative in order for me to rise above whatever life threw at me. Alcoholism is not just about drinking too much. If it was, I just need to stop drinking and everything would be okay. Alcoholism is about creating a barrier around me. It's about building a wall all around my life. It's about defending myself against the world and against life's imperfections. It's about defending myself from you and from whoever I meet and whatever life throws at me. Life is never going to be perfect, not for me, not for anyone. But seen through the eyes of the alcoholic, the imperfections of others come over as a lack of love, a lack of understanding, a lack of care. They come over as being hurtful, and they create an aloneness that runs through the veins of alcoholics. And that's how I spent my childhood. I felt very alone. I felt very ostracised. I didn't think people understood. I didn't think people cared. So I knew it was all down to me to survive. And I had one constant in my life, and one constant only, that knowing that I didn't really fit in. All my life I knew deep down I was basically on my own. It was me against the world. It's very sad to look back and think that's how I grew up, but that's how I lived. I never told anybody, because nobody would understand. It was either stand up or be knocked down. because no one ever knew how I felt, and no one would ever know how I felt. No one would ever knew what it was like to live in my head, and no one would ever know what it was like to be me. Why? Because I didn't tell anyone. How could I? They'd only laugh and tell me I was imagining things. They'd only laugh and tell me not to be so stupid. They'd only laugh and ostracise me and make me look stupid. Life as an alcoholic is so lonely. It's demoralisingly unhappy. And the only way to survive was with my own self-determination, my selfishness, my self-seeking. All I ever wanted from my earliest memory of 4 years old was some attention, someone to talk to me, someone to be nice to me, someone to say, "Bill, I'm listening to you. What have you got to say?" But no one did. But even if they did do that, what was the point? If I did get some attention, if I did get some love, if I did get some one-to-one time, I'd just push it away. If I got compliments, I think you're only saying it. You don't mean it really. There wasn't a time when I was happy, but all my time as a child was about survival. When I needed affection, if I did get any, if I got the tiniest little bit of affection, again it was no good. Because I just push it away. Because I knew affection didn't last. I knew friendships wouldn't last. I knew what you thought about me wouldn't last. So it's better not to start. And eventually at 13 years old, alcohol started slowly, but it started to fill the void of loneliness and isolation that I'd always felt inside. It fulfilled a need within me where alcohol created some self-worth, some real self-worth, which was the first self-worth I'd ever experienced. It gave me something to cling on to. It gave me some hope. And it gave me some view of the future that I could survive as long as I had a drink. Life has an unmitigating way of eradicating pain. Life has a way of finding a coping mechanism to pretty well anything. And where I once used dishonesty, I now had alcohol. And alcohol and dishonesty pretty well went hand in hand. For they covered up my insecurities. They covered up my shyness. They covered up my fear. They covered up my need to what you thought about me. And alcohol became my saviour. It became my armour. It became the wall I built up around you. And it became the wall I built up around me. And within the confines of my own castle, I felt safe. And I knew that I could survive. Other people take on sports. Some people self-harm. Many people get a hobby. Some people take up cycling. Some people take up tennis or chess or collecting stamps or walking in nature. It's all the same. They all give relief where nothing else gives relief. But the relief for the alcoholic only works for a while, where the medicine, the alcohol, has to be repeated regularly, day after day after day. Truth for me was not the truth I saw in others. My truth, my lies, my half-truths, my innuendos were how I survived. I needed them. I couldn't lose them, for I had to have them all to bring up at any point in time and any day to defend myself against what the world threw at me. I never saw dishonesty at the time as a coping skill. I never saw lying, telling half-truths as the way I was trying to cope in this world. But I now see that I used it as a way of rising above the pain of living, which as an alcoholic of our type, even as a young child who hadn't drunk, was indescribably horrendous. You only needed to look at me the wrong way, and the pain and the low self-worth was crippling. You only need to laugh at me. You only need to criticise me. Or you only needed to take away your friendship for me to feel so absolutely terrible that it was easier thinking about my own death than living. Alcoholism and self-harm and gambling and drug taking are all about relief. They are all about rising above the pain that life ultimately throws at us. So if I lie to you, it's not about dishonesty. It's about love. It's about fulfilling the place where understanding and love should have been. And above all else, a little lie or a big lie is about saving my soul. It's about creating something to override the hollowness that I've always felt inside. And that's why I'm alive today. So don't judge me on what you see, or what you hear, or what you're told, because you'll probably never really understand. But judge me on the one thing that went on to save my life. Judge me because I'm a survivor. Bill the Shirt, Bristol. That's good.